Empathy is often celebrated as an essential quality for building deep and meaningful human connections. But does being empathetic always make us better people? And what happens when this seemingly harmless skill begins to overwhelm us emotionally? In this video, we'll dive into the darker side of empathy, uncovering the challenges and risks it can bring when not balanced. From the impact of vicarious trauma to the dangers of emotional burnout, you'll understand how empathy can be both a blessing and a burden. But don't worry, we'll also discuss ways to balance empathy and well-being so you can continue helping others without neglecting your own self-care. Are you ready for this journey of self-discovery and reflection? Let's get started. What is empathy? Empathy is a fundamentally human ability that allows us to understand, feel, and often respond to the emotions of others. However, it isn't a single experience. There are three main types of empathy, each playing a distinct role in our interactions. Cognitive empathy is the ability to understand what someone else is thinking or feeling, almost like reading between the lines of their words. It's an intellectual skill that enables us to anticipate actions and respond in a more rational way. Emotional empathy, on the other hand, is more visceral. We directly feel another person's emotions as if they were our own. Imagine tearing up while watching someone overcome a major challenge. Finally, compassionate empathy goes a step further. It motivates us to act, offering concrete help to those in need. In the brain, empathy is driven by a complex network involving areas like the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. These systems are activated by hormones such as oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, and dopamine, which reinforces feelings of pleasure when helping others. From an evolutionary perspective, empathy was crucial for human survival. In ancient times, the ability to understand others' needs and emotions strengthened social bonds and helped groups collaborate to overcome challenges. Today, it remains a powerful tool for connection, shaping our interactions and enabling us to form deep and meaningful relationships. The benefits of empathy. Empathy is often regarded as one of the cornerstones of human connection. It has the power to significantly enhance relationships and create a positive impact on both individual and collective levels. In interpersonal relationships, empathy acts as an emotional bridge. Imagine a friend going through a difficult time. By showing empathy, listening attentively, and validating their feelings, you strengthen the bond between you. This simple act can provide comfort and build greater trust in the relationship. In professional settings, empathy fosters conflict resolution and improves collaboration. An empathetic leader, for instance, can understand their team's perspectives, cultivating a more inclusive and productive environment. Difficult situations, like disagreements among colleagues, are more easily resolved when everyone involved feels their concerns are heard and understood. Empathy also inspires altruistic actions. When we truly understand and feel what others are experiencing, we're motivated to act. This might include small gestures, like helping someone carry their groceries, or larger efforts, such as volunteering for a cause or participating in social campaigns. Psychologically, empathy strengthens emotional bonds. When we connect with someone else's joy or pain, our brain releases oxytocin, creating feelings of closeness and satisfaction. This benefits not only the person receiving empathy, but also enriches the emotional experience of the one expressing it. By cultivating empathy, we create healthier and more harmonious environments, both in our personal lives and within our communities. Empathy not only connects people, but also heals, bringing individuals together around a common goal, understanding, and solidarity. The dark side of empathy. Although empathy is widely celebrated as a virtue, it can paradoxically lead to challenges and negative consequences when experienced in excess or without balance. This phenomenon is known as the dark side of empathy. One of the most significant risks is emotional burnout, a state of exhaustion caused by absorbing the pain and problems of others. Picture a caregiver who constantly prioritizes the well-being of others while neglecting their own needs. Over time, this accumulated strain can lead to physical, mental, and emotional depletion, making it impossible to continue providing effective support. Excessive empathy can also create issues in relationships. When someone consistently prioritizes another person's emotions over their own, They may overlook their emotional boundaries. This imbalance can lead to cycles of resentment, fatigue, and, eventually, emotional distance. Another concerning aspect is vulnerability to manipulation. Highly empathetic individuals are often easy targets for those who exploit their emotions for personal gain. For example, a manipulative friend might repeatedly use guilt or emotional appeals to extract favors or attention from an empathetic person. Psychological studies support these observations. Research shows that high levels of emotional empathy are correlated with increased rates of anxiety and depression. This happens because constantly internalizing the negative emotions of others can overwhelm the nervous system, leaving empathetic individuals more vulnerable to mental health challenges. These negative impacts don't mean that empathy should be avoided. Instead, they highlight the importance of balance. Developing tools to manage emotions in a healthy way and learning to set boundaries are crucial steps to mitigate the risks associated with the dark side of empathy. Vicarious trauma and empathy. When discussing empathy, it's crucial to address the impact of vicarious trauma, the experience of absorbing others' suffering to the point of feeling their pain as if it were your own. This phenomenon is particularly common in professions that demand high levels of empathy, but can also affect anyone regularly exposed to others' trauma. Professionals like therapists, social workers, nurses, and even journalists often face vicarious trauma. For example, a therapist who listens to daily accounts of abuse or loss might begin internalizing these traumas. Even without directly experiencing such events, repeated exposure can lead to symptoms like anxiety, insomnia, and even a sense of hopelessness. Today, social media amplifies this phenomenon. We're constantly exposed to a stream of emotionally charged and distressing information: natural disasters, social injustices, violence, and human suffering. This relentless emotional overload can push us into a state of mental and emotional exhaustion similar to vicarious trauma. Psychologically, vicarious trauma occurs because the human brain struggles to differentiate between my pain and their pain when it comes to emotional distress. Areas like the amygdala and limbic system are activated, triggering stress responses similar to those experienced by individuals who directly endure trauma. For those dealing with vicarious trauma, finding ways to process and release these emotions is critical. Strategies such as joining support groups, practicing self-care, and engaging in mindfulness can help mitigate its effects. Additionally, setting emotional boundaries and recognizing signs of overload are essential steps to protect mental health while continuing to demonstrate empathy. Individual differences in empathy. Not everyone experiences empathy in the same way, as it is shaped by a combination of biological, genetic, and environmental factors. Understanding these differences helps us appreciate how empathy manifests uniquely in each individual and how it influences our relationships and social dynamics. From a biological perspective, empathy levels are linked to the activity of hormones like oxytocin and serotonin, which play crucial roles in emotional regulation and social bonding. Research also suggests that genetic factors influence empathy. Certain genes associated with oxytocin production, for instance, may make some people more sensitive to others' emotions. However, the environment in which we grow up significantly shapes our capacity for empathy. Children raised in homes where empathy is practiced and valued tend to develop higher levels of empathy. Conversely, traumatic experiences or environments where emotions are suppressed can lead to lower empathy levels, often as a form of self-protection. These variations are reflected in how individuals interact with others. For example, someone with high emotional empathy may be more attuned to others' needs, but also more vulnerable to emotional exhaustion. In contrast, a person with lower empathy levels might appear detached, but is often more resilient in high-stress situations. In social contexts, these differences create diverse dynamics. Groups that combine highly empathetic individuals with those who are more analytical can strike a balance between emotional connection and logical decision-making. However, it's important to recognize that there is no right or wrong when it comes to empathy. Each style has its strengths and challenges. Understanding and accepting these differences makes us more tolerant and effective in our relationships. fostering a healthy balance between emotional connection and resilience. Strategies for balancing empathy and well-being. While empathy is a powerful skill, maintaining balance is essential to avoid emotional exhaustion and protect your mental health. Here are practical strategies to manage empathy in a healthy and sustainable way. Set emotional boundaries. One of the most effective ways to safeguard your well-being is to define how deeply you engage emotionally. This doesn't mean being cold or detached, but recognizing your limits. For instance, when someone shares their struggles, offer support without fully absorbing their pain. Phrases like, "I understand how difficult this is for you," convey empathy without jeopardizing your emotional stability. Practice compassion over excessive empathy. Emotional empathy can be draining, but compassion provides a healthier balance. Compassion allows you to acknowledge others' suffering and take meaningful action without internalizing their pain. This approach reduces emotional overload and the risk of burnout. Incorporate mindfulness techniques. Mindfulness practices enhance self-awareness and help you distinguish between your emotions and those of others. Taking moments to meditate or simply breathe deeply in stressful situations can provide clarity and balance. Prioritize self-care. Maintaining a self-care routine is crucial for balancing empathy and well-being. This includes activities that bring joy, adequate rest, and hobbies that recharge your emotional energy. 5. Seek support. Talking with friends, family, or professionals about your feelings can alleviate emotional weight. Support groups are also a great way to share experiences and learn coping strategies from others. Reevaluate your responsibilities. Avoid taking on responsibility for others' feelings or problems. Helping doesn't mean bearing the full weight of their struggles. Recognize that you can offer support without taking on the burden entirely. Balancing empathy with emotional autonomy isn't easy, but it's essential for living a lighter and healthier life. When you prioritize your well-being, you are better equipped to help others in a genuine and effective way. Empathy is one of the most profoundly human traits we possess, a force capable of connecting, healing, and transforming lives. However, as we've explored in this video, empathy can also be a double-edged sword, presenting emotional challenges and even risks to mental health when not managed effectively. Throughout this discussion, we examined the different forms of empathy, its countless benefits, and its more challenging aspects, such as vicarious trauma and emotional burnout. We also reflected on how biological factors and life experiences shape empathy levels in each individual. Finally, we shared practical strategies for managing empathy in a healthy way, ensuring it remains a positive force in our lives. The core message is clear: you can be empathetic without sacrificing your well-being. By setting boundaries, practicing compassion, and prioritizing self-care, you not only protect your emotional health, but also enhance your ability to support others in a genuine and effective way. Remember, caring for others is vital, but caring for yourself is essential. By finding the right balance, you can harness empathy as a powerful tool to build meaningful connections and create sustainable change in the world around you.